Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to RHINO Nation Radio, sponsored by RHINO Online Strategies and eCreativity. RHINO Nation is a growing community of incredible entrepreneurs and small business owners that share a common trait. They don't walk, they don't run, they charge to their destiny. From the mind-blowing talents of Generation Next to the treasure trove of seasoned business minds, we acknowledge and celebrate their behavior, expertise, leadership, and fearless attitude to be victorious in their goals. RHINO Nation is committed to making powerful connections and providing enhanced exposure to broaden the reach and promote the extraordinary talents of our community members. I'm Michelle Faust, along with my co-host, Jacob Van, founder and creative genius of Fantastic Media. And with great pleasure, I want to introduce our two guests today, Nicole Spracale from ProShot and Yaffi Lvova, founder of Baby Bloom Nutrition. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
So happy to have you. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I'm good. A little tired, but I'm pretty good. It's still a little early for me at 11.
So you might have gotten at least 3 hours of sleep last
Two and a
night?
half. Two and a half.
All right. Well, okay. So you stay awake for the whole hour
average,
here, right?
On average. Yes, I will.
All right. So lots of different topics to talk about, and to kind of jump off with it, I'd like to give each of you a chance to just give a little background, kind of a short backstory of who you are and what you're doing. And I'll start with Yaffi, sorry. It's the B in your last name that got me.
I know. It's, it's a Russian thing, and it gets further confusing with an apostrophe that comes and goes. And my husband's last name is Lvov and mine is Lvova because it's a Russian thing. And we just really like to confuse people, keep them on their toes.
As long as you can roll with it, right?
You got to roll with it. So I'm Yaffi. I own Baby Bloom Nutrition, and a big part of that now is Toddler Test Kitchen. I had kind of a rocky start. I got a degree in comparative religions from ASU, and that didn't go where I had expected it to. So I went back for nutrition, and I remember saying I'll never work with kids. And yet, as things happen, my life took its own shape, and I became a dietitian. I was clinical. I worked in a lot of different areas in the hospital, everything from outpatient ALS to cancer, transplant. I mean, all of the crazy stuff, even NICU, lots of stuff. And then I had my twins. And when I had my twins, I had my high risk pregnancy with twins. And then I had a lot of obstacles with them, with their nutrition and with their growth. And that just shaped my practice. I had postpartum depression. I wanted to really help women to feel more confident in that transition into parenthood. It's a rough transition on so many levels. And I'm just here to help boost that confidence. Toddler Test Kitchen came out as a brainchild that I developed with Claudine Wessel, who is now in events at the Arizona Science Center. And we developed it together at the Hallie Hart Children's Museum. And it's a fun activity where parents can bond and they don't have to clean up the crazy mess. But there's a hidden agenda there. It's for parents who have hesitant or reluctant eaters, kids who are not as adventurous with food. And it's a way to introduce them gently to new foods in a way that has absolutely no pressure. And it's just a lot of fun.
Sounds like it. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Nicole?
Well, that's just so super cool. I just want to keep listening to all that she's doing. That's awesome. So, my journey has been really unique. I started, my first career. I'm on number 3 here. So I started my first career as a performer. I went to ASU for a couple of years, and then I moved to Los Angeles to pursue a career in theater and the arts. And then there was this big earthquake, and I got the heck out of Dodge and, came back to Phoenix. And as luck had it, I met my soulmate, and I decided to stay and had to find a new career after a number of different opportunities and just great mentors. Wound up really landing a great path in human resources. And ultimately, through my career in corporate, my last job was as the head of HR for a company in the human capital space. and just loved the ride, loved what I did, but got to a point where I realized that for me, helping other businesses grow and scale and spending time with those business owners, finding their purpose and getting in touch with what they wanted to do was really my calling. And so started coaching, started consulting, found a great business partner that I do a lot of things with. And one of our core businesses is helping other business owners put in the systems and processes to grow and scale. And that's where we spend a lot of our time. My business partner in that is a former professional athlete. And through all of that time have really realized that both of us are very aligned with the fact that there's a challenge out there with youth, right? He sees it on the athletic side that they don't know how to play sports, that they don't. And when I say play, it's not the skill side. It's, that teamwork, that camaraderie, that communication, that a lot of that is missing. I saw it on the human capital side that when these kids graduate and go into the workforce, they're missing so many of the essential skills that we need to see: how to communicate, how to be team players, how to take the skills that you learn as a young person and go into the workplace. And we started talking about it so often. How do we help get better leaders out for tomorrow? And that became a springboard to a founding of ProShot Doc. We have 2 other co-founders, so there's 4 of us. And the goal of that business is to get kids off the couch, playing sports again, get engaged, because we know that when kids play sports, so many other amazing things happen. They get off their devices and they build a community. They get excited about their health. They get excited about learning. They get excited about leadership. They get excited about community, and that we get to be part of helping them build a better tomorrow. And that's really exciting for all of us.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
People they graduate high school, don't even know how to shake hands effectively.
Well, that's like the biggest thing. And Michelle and I have talked about that a lot. I went to college at NAU, and when I got out of college, I was in about $35,000 of debt, and they don't even teach you how to sign a check, create your own bank account. There's specifics, there's small little skills that everyone has. And that's why I tell everyone I got my real estate license when I first turned 18. And that was the best decision I've ever made, because it taught me how to talk to people. It taught me how to write contracts and look at contracts, just the basic skills that everyone should have. So I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And, what you're doing with teaching our kids how to eat, how we eat, how we fuel our bodies, how we fuel our minds, how we exercise. If it's just fun, then it's not work. And one of the things that we learned as we started researching this project, and we're going to start with basketball because 2 of the co-founders happen to be former professional basketball players. So it was a natural place to start. What we realized is that kids stop playing by the time they're 13 in one study. Another study says 15. Regardless of the study, about 80% of kids stop playing sports altogether. And that's because they're not eating well. They don't know what to do there. They're not happy. They don't feel engaged. They go to college and they're completely disengaged. That's a problem for all of us when the next generation can't do things.
And I can speak to both of what you're doing based on my kids, stepkids, and whatnot. So my youngest at 18 now, he got exposed to baseball, soccer, something else in there too. Dance. He loved dance. And for years, he was very, very active, and then just slowly it just kind of dropped off. And I guess if you can label somebody not the athletic type, that would be him. But, I guess that's more choice than anything. But there are, teenagers that just aren't inclined. And so I think my question is, if they really don't want to get out there in a traditional sport, what about things like chess or that type of thing that maybe is still gets them involved in kind of a community activity? Does that kind of take the similar role?
Yeah. So we have a lot of thoughts around that, and we are looking at a number of different ways, but I have 2 answers on that. One is that what we found is that the reason a lot of kids stop playing sports is because it stops being fun, because they don't have the skill to play. And so our business is really focused on making it accessible for every kid, right? Not for the elite athlete who we're happy to help, and we can. We want to focus on the other 80 or 90% who aren't playing because it stopped being fun. And, when you mentioned your story, it wasn't fun because, I didn't have skills. Nobody wanted me in the pickup game. I was the last one called. That was me in high school. I was the last one called all the time.
Me too.
Right?
Me too.
So, yeah, I mean, that sucks, right? So if it's not fun, I don't want to play.
So let me ask you. So I played basketball my whole life, right? I played in high school. I went to college. I was on the practice team. And I think the biggest thing when it comes to sports is relationships. The relationships you build. From basketball, I've gotten, I actually have, and Michelle and I've talked about this, I have athletes that are my clients in the NBA because of basketball and my love for basketball. So is that something that you agree on? Is that I think when it comes to sports, building relationships, building a network is always the best. I talk to everyone. They're like, yeah, I used to play pickup basketball with him. When I go to the gym, I go to a gym and we play pickup basketball. That's where business happens. You network with people. Things like that. It doesn't have to be at a very young age. It can be, I'm 24. People that I play with are 60 years old that have very successful businesses that I'm able to talk to through basketball and things like that. So is that a huge channel?
Absolutely. You have to be able to do whatever it is, golf, basketball, whatever. Play well enough that you can get out there and have fun so that you're not thinking about what you're doing, so you can build community and build relationships, which is what the other side of our business is we're going to be building an online community for kids to learn how to talk, to learn how to build relationships. You're right. Everything that we do as humans is based on community. It's based on belongingness. It's based on relationships. And it starts, with these little kids, right? I mean, these little kids learning like what they're doing, learning how to cook together. That's community building, right? Learning how to play is community building. Learning how to, go through college, but we got to get them off the devices and get them having fun and realize that teamwork, speaking, shaking hands, having fun, all of these things are great adventures. People just want to belong and they want to feel important. And
but to your point, they're not being taught how to do that because that is just not in the normal, and we can point to parent, teachers, anybody. I mean, but who's pointing fingers? That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is find those solutions. So you're right. So starting from the very beginning, which I mean, that's kind of scary to me. Precious little beings that, you're very much a part of their formation as adults. Food is a part of that. Activities is a part of that. And it sounds like you, Yaffi, that you're involved in all of that. I just have to tell my story because this used to make me absolutely crazy. So my stepson, who had been in my life since he was 2, I could count on 5 fingers what he would eat and still have fingers left over.
Yeah, that's very common.
And, and the thing was that one of his big things was pepperoni, which was so chock full of, just, chemicals. But we couldn't get him to eat anything, and of course that was a divorce situation. So you've got what's going on in the other family, what's going on when you're trying to do. And it was a huge struggle. Now at 18, he's still picky, but at least, thank goodness, it has grown to where, we can't find things to eat. But here's the thing. Even as part of being in life, being with friends, sleepovers, things like that, if he would just starve before he would eat what they served.
Yeah, it's much more complicated than they'll eat before they starve. A lot of parents hear that, and there really is a condition called RFID now, which is now a qualified condition that you'll find. It's an official diagnosis at this point, and that's just when selective eating really gets so selective that you're limited to those 5 items or just a very few items. And at that point, it really does impact nutrition. It's important for parents to take a step back and take a breather, just to relax, because it's very common for kids to have a picky phase. And we try to get away from the word picky just because it seems like such a permanent label. And when your kids hear you call them picky, they're going to own that and they're going to take that on as a permanent part of their personality as they get older, and they're never going to move past it when really it's a normal phase. On the other hand, when you do have a child who has such restrictive eating that it is impacting their nutrition, it's best to work with a professional to move past that in the most gentle way possible. If a child feels pressure, they're not going to respond well. And it's difficult for parents to not apply that pressure if they're seeing that you have altered growth patterns, if you're missing milestones, if there's a lot going on. That's why you want to include a professional to really help you get past that point, either a feeding therapist or the appropriate dietitian to really get past that and move forward comfortably and confidently. And that's how you can really get to an adventurous place with your eating. And that's why I really love cooking, because no matter what kind of foods you find acceptable, what the child finds acceptable, it's always fun to play with food. It's always fun to feel a big stalk of broccoli and feel there's a smooth part and there's the bumpy part. And what does it sound like when I rub on it next to my ear? Like it's fun, and that's what we do in my class. We have fun. And I keep the recipes vegan just because between kids' food intolerances and safety issues, I don't want to give kids raw eggs, for example, to play with. You can do that at home by all means, and you can work with meat at home, but I'm not going to do that in a class of 15 kids. But I encourage them to eat as they go along. And it's interesting where kids take this. And some examples of that are when we did egg rolls. I bought the vegan egg wrappers, and thank God, because kids were eating them raw. And who would think that they're going to take egg roll wrappers and eat them raw? But they did. And in another class, we did sushi, and I did pickled daikon, and the kids went crazy for the pickled daikon. Who knew? Who knew? You'd think they'd be putting the rice in their mouth, but you just never know. When you present a food in a gentle way, in a way that's not, here, eat this, they're so much more open to experimenting with it and touching it and playing with it. And I can make a ring out of it. And look, it's an airplane. And that's just really gentle, creative nutrition exposure. And I also read books that have a very positive food message and a positive body image that they get across. We have coloring pages, and there are songs, and you can do science experiments. And all of these are things that are gentle exposures for kids who really have a hard time with food. And this is really the way to move forward, rather than putting the food in front of them and saying, you have to have at least one bite, or you have to have at least 3 bites. You got to take a different tack with it. Get creative, have fun, make a mess.
I think that's the message that you really, and I'm sure you are getting it out there, but to me, that's the one that resonates with me, because of course I grew up with I hate dating myself, but I grew up with the age of, there are starving kids in China, and,
Africa.
Mm-hmm. You have, you're not getting up from the table till you eat everything on your plate, and all those things that went on. And then of course, when I was dealing with my son, and just, it's just take one bite, just take one bite. But what I found out is he had such a negative image already that he would take the one bite, but it didn't matter. He was convinced he was going to hate it. And so it was really served no purpose.
Well, I can say that. I mean, it's funny because I look back, and for a long time, I never liked onions and I never liked cauliflower. And I would tell my dad, I don't want it. I hate it. And my dad's like, have you ever tried it? And I'm like, no, I haven't, but I don't want it. Now I tried it, and I love cauliflower and onions, but I am still very picky. I still won't eat mushrooms and certain things I've never tried. I still haven't got myself to it. And so that's something that hopefully, but my dad says, and I don't know if it's true, but my dad says all the time, he's like, when I was your age, I didn't like fish. But when you get older, you start liking fish. I don't know if that's like a correlation of getting older and you start liking different foods, your taste, but I don't know, because I don't think I will ever like fish. But, to him, he was like, I was the same boat. And then when I started getting older and started knowing that I need to eat healthier, fish is great. So I don't know. Is that like something the older you get?
Yeah. Right. As you get older, your tastes may change. You may start to like different things. You may stop liking certain things. I don't like olives and mushrooms. And a lot of people think that's sacrilege, and that's fine. They can think that, but we all have our likes and dislikes, and it's fine to have likes and dislikes. The problem is only when your dislikes get to be so restrictive that it's impacting your ability to meet your nutrition needs. Right. And the thing that we need to be concerned about with our kids is that people sense things different. People, for instance, I also don't like mustard, and I don't understand how everyone else in the world seems to like mustard.
Oh,
Is it how we perceive the taste, or are we tasting it the same way? And I just like that in someone, or I don't like it and someone else likes it. We don't know at this point why people like certain things and don't like certain things, but we need to be open-minded with our kids about that. So here's a point I want to make as far as you didn't like onions and cauliflower. So when's the first time you tried cauliflower?
2 years ago.
Was that your choice to have it?
No.
You're undermining my point here.
Well, it wasn't like it was forced to me, but it was in something that I was eating, and I didn't know it was in it. And so then I ate it, and I was like, that's really good. So it wasn't like forced to me of like, you're going to eat this. I mean, it would look bad if I was 22 years old getting forced to eat. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, that totally spun out in a way I didn't want. So for an adult, that's okay. But a lot of parents like to hide vegetables in food.
For sure.
I have this great recipe.
Some of us do that with our spouses, by the way.
Yeah.
I get that. And it's a little bit of a different dynamic with a spouse, but with a child. So I do have great recipes for spinach muffins and for my chocolate bloomies, which have pumpkin and carrot juice and dates and all kinds of good stuff in it. But the thing is that I don't call it hiding food because I'm bringing the kids into the kitchen. They're cooking with me. They see it going in. They're mixing it. And the difference is that if your kids know that you're sneaking something in on them, they're going to resent it and they're going to push back and they're going to resist.
They're not going to trust you.
They're not going to trust you. It undermines the trust between parent and child. So the best thing to do is to incorporate vegetables into these dishes, but to show it to your kids, include them in the preparation, and then also make sure that you have those vegetables in their pure form on the table so that your child can see it and recognize it and see that they're either making the choice to have it or they're not making the choice to have it, but they're enjoying it if they're eating it. You want them to grow up not thinking I like pizza, except there's something blended into the sauce. There's butternut squash blended into the sauce. They don't know that it's there. They like burritos and they don't know that there was spinach hidden somewhere in there because they get to college and they don't know that they have enjoyed these vegetables. They're just going to default to going to the drive-through. They don't know that they like these vegetables.
For sure.
So you got to hit it from both sides.
No, and I'm laughing because I remember my father, like I said, I don't eat fish. But he went to a restaurant and got chicken and fish and accidentally gave me the fish and I ate it and I was liking it. And he was like, ha, he's like, you're eating fish. And I was like, and I just started throwing up and I was like, no, I don't like fish anymore. And I think it was just my mindset, but it's funny because I was very young at the time, but it's just very funny because he didn't mean to do that. He just accidentally, it was cut up the same and I just ate the fish, but I liked it. And then when he said it was fish, I was like, oh, heck no. I was like, I don't want it. And so it's just funny.
Yeah, I may have advised him differently on how to, maybe not a hot you're eating fish type of situation.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's incredible. Well, so let's sort of move in an age sense here to the teenagers. And, I'm going to suspect even if they've been raised to eat well, to like vegetables, isn't it kind of a default thing when they hit their teenage years if they want, the fast food or the chips or because I'm thinking of what you're doing, Nicole, and that, athletics requires a healthy, body, energy from within. Does any of that get incorporated in a sort of a teaching process of what you're doing?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things on that. So our approach is because we're looking at kids and making a positive movement forward. We have two approaches with kids. We have we look at kids 13 to 18. We have the kids who aren't currently playing. And for them, we're saying, listen, just start with a couple of minutes a day. Let's show you a couple of things to make it fun, which are around biomechanics and muscle memory, and just get you playing a little bit so that it becomes a community activity, right? And you just start engaging. Do it just a little bit. And then we have our online community that we're building. And in there, we'll start talking about all of the other things that go into activities. Why healthy eating also supports playing more active. Why when you eat well and you exercise and you stretch, because it's not just about playing, it's also about stretching. All of those things holistically, how that elevates everything you do. How it actually will help you do better in school. There's research that shows that when you play a sport, you actually have better test scores. You're more likely to complete college, things like that. So we'll incorporate all of those things. For our elite athletes who look at our programs, because the skills that we teach are actually the same skills. Muscle memory and biomechanics are the same skills. It's just how often you practice them and how you utilize them. For those elite athletes, they're already engaged. They already know that, listen, if I'm going to play D1 sports or something like that, I have to have the entire package. Then we have a little bit more engagement on those other tools. But we'll talk about it holistically. The goal, though, is to boil it down and say, listen, kind of that same idea of, hey, you don't have to eat an elephant all at once. You eat it one bite at a time. Let's do this one bite at a time. Let's just get you seeing that it's fun. Just get off the couch one day a week. Okay, was that fun? Great. How about twice? Great. How about you get off your device an hour a day? Because we'll have contests and we'll have rewards and we'll have other incentives. Just slowly change your behavior and modify it. And over time, it becomes who you are, and that's really the forward goal.
I think that's really amazing. I'm a big believer in intuitive eating, and one of the principles is joyful movement. And the whole idea of intuitive eating is breaking the connection between nutrition and body size, because it's not as clear cut as we've been led to believe. And what you're doing is encouraging that joyful movement. It's exercise for the sake of exercise. It's exercise for the community, for the endorphins, for the better focus, for the better sleep and the better mood. And it's so beautiful, because when our kids are raised to believe that what they put in their mouth and the amount of activity that they have is directly related to their body size, they often get really discouraged when they start to go through puberty and their body's doing things that they don't necessarily want it to do. And it's taking a shape that they maybe didn't want it to take. They can still get out there on the court. They can still have fun and still get so many of those benefits. And that's such a beautiful thing that you're getting across to our youth.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's kind of fun because we get to show, our two of our co-founders. One of them is they're both healthy and muscular and fit because they're both very, very active. But one of them is very, very tall. Peter's like 6'9", 6'10". And then Derek is, our other co-founder is, under 6 feet. They both can shoot the heck out of the ball, right?
Yeah.
They've both played at that elite level and at the professional level. And so that goes to show you that, body shape, body size isn't the only factor if that's really your dream. And if it's not your dream to pay at that level, if it's just your dream to be social about it, awesome, great, right? You don't have to do that level. There's so many other ways to get involved. And that's really what this message is about, is just get off the couch and have fun. Sports are fun. I was talking to somebody who said, I remember someone who's my age, older than dirt, and said, I remember back in the day where it was so much fun. We would hang a clothesline in our backyard and we would pretend it was whoever was the guy that was most important at that particular moment in sports. And we would pretend like we would just jump over the clothesline and dunk the ball over their head, right? And we'd use imagination.
Yeah.
And we don't do that enough anymore. And how do we bring that back?
Yeah.
We
built
fun.
forts in the orange groves when I was
Well, I would tell you too, one of the problems that I deal with a lot is time management and just working constantly. And it actually can hurt business when you do that. And I was told by one of my coaches to take time for myself, an hour a day, go play. And that's when I actually started playing pickup basketball, and it takes your mind off of things. And like I said, you talk, and actually has helped my business because it takes my mind from what I'm doing, and I'm being active, and I'm refreshing myself to then want to go back home and work and things like that. So I think it's perfect, not, at a young age and then at an older age. I think it's something, definitely.
Yeah, actually, when I work with adults, that's one of the things that we talk about. That's great advice that your coach gave you. That's one of the things that I talk with my business clients about very often, is that in the course of a week, some of the most important things that you see people do, the most productive executives do, is donate or dedicate so much time every week to self-reflection, right? Planning what you're going to do, visualizing the success of your business, and then physical activity, right? And then also learning, right? And if you don't have time in your week for those 3 activities, you have sentenced yourself to a cap of how successful you're going to be. You've got to always be improving your heart, body, and soul, right?
Well, I had interesting experience as far as exercise, I took up yoga because I'm having some back problems. And so where I used to do hiking, walking, and all of that, I'm feeling a little more restricted. So I thought yoga would be a great thing to do, which it has been. But here's what I noticed first before anything, because a big part of yoga is breathing. I am a very shallow breather. I think most people tend to be. And just that process of really breathing and being conscious of breathing through yoga, all of a sudden I started noticing that I was clearer of mind. I could get myself out of bed early, easier. I didn't want to just lay there because I had foggy brain. It was a kind of a revelation to me to realize that the simple act of really breathing and getting that oxygen throughout my body was making a huge difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then it incentivizes you to want to go, okay, let's keep this up. Let's take it to the next level. Let's get stronger. Let's get, I
actually have a question. So, and I keep bringing it back to me, but it's just interesting. So as a business owner, and I'm not the only one, a lot of business owners, as I know in business, will start gaining weight because they're so in tune with work and they eat chips and they do that. I'm still very young and I do have a fast metabolism, but I stay up until probably 4:30 in the morning working, right? And I get so hungry in the middle of the night. And that's probably where I eat the most, is in the middle of the night. And my father, he's the same way, but he gained a lot of weight from doing that. And he was like, if you keep that up when you get older, it's not your metabolism is going to go down. So is that something that you see a lot? And what's like, I've been told, okay, eat healthier at night and do this, but I'm trying to say like at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I'm done eating, more water, but I'll sit at the computer working and I just get super hungry because I'm awake that late and I want chips or I want, a Coke or something like that. So is that something that you see a lot? I mean,
this is actually a very hot button issue right now. It's not something that I personally see a lot because my practice is focused on young kids and they're not up eating chips, working on their presentation at midnight. Yeah. So that's not such an issue. But as far as, so the research is really studying, is nutrition the same during the day as it is overnight? And you have this whole trend toward intermittent fasting. And there's a lot of research going on with that right now. And we don't have a lot of conclusions. The thing is that you have to take your schedule into account. When people are talking about intermittent fasting, it works for some people. It doesn't work for a lot of people. I really believe you have to listen to your body's signals. You have to honor your hunger, feel your fullness, eat till you're satisfied, and then stop. If you are hungry, you should eat something. There are a lot of factors that lead to body size, body shape, and weight. And I'd have to know a lot more to really.
One thing be stress, like stress eating, because work causes stress, and then you want to eat, right? So I think that probably when I think about it is like I'm getting stressed. Okay, I want some Doritos or something like that, right?
So there's the question of the schedule to begin with. Are you getting enough sleep? Because if you're not getting enough sleep, which it really doesn't sound like you are, so here's the wagging finger at you. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to have a lot of cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone that helps us fight off bears, which you are not doing. You are not fighting a bear, but your body's acting like you are. And cortisol is also a hormone that helps us to store fat. And so when we're really stressed out, you could be eating because you're hungry, which is a good thing, but that cortisol is going to work against you. And then also, if you're eating because you're stressed and you're not actually hungry, then that's also going to work against you.
Well, that's the thing. The problem is that when I do that and then I wake up at, like 7 or 7:30, I feel horrible. Like I don't feel good, right? I feel bloated and I feel like I ate, like it's just ridiculous. So that's why I've been trying to, but I get so hungry in the middle of the night.
Right.
And onto the sports thing. I try to run in the middle of the night. If I get hungry, I'll go on the treadmill and run, and it kind of gets me even tired. But I don't know. Like I said, it takes away.
Well, the thing that I heard, in addition to the great advice you're hearing about thinking on the food, is I disagree with the sentence that work has to make you feel stress. I don't believe that. Here's what I'm going to tell you. And we were talking about this earlier when we were sitting outside in the equivalent of the green room, right? If you are really, and I understand, please don't misunderstand that there aren't peaks and valleys, right? I mean, everybody has a moment where they're working on a project. I'm not addressing that. But if you are completely connected to your purpose and you know what you're doing is exactly what you're meant to do, and it is driving everything else, you wake up every single day on fire. I jump out of bed so fast in the morning. It doesn't matter whether I got 2 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep. You are on fire. You are dedicated and driven to what you want to accomplish, and you want to go after it until the whole world get out of my way. I'm going to knock this out of the park and make it happen. And you can either get behind me or eat my dust. And there's no stress with it.
I completely agree with you. But when you do, and this is getting a little thing, but when you have clients that want to talk to you at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, and you need it, like I said, and that's my own problem, right? Dealing with those things, that triggers the stress because I may have a website to get done in 2 days, right? And I put myself in that position, and that's the stress. I'm not talking about purpose of my business, because I'm a business owner and I chose to what I'm doing, but it's small little things that I put myself into that stresses me out that I'm working on. But that's all I'm saying is there's things like that. And it's not just stress, but like I said, when I'm staying up late, because if I go to sleep at midnight, I won't eat during the night, right? Because I'm sleeping. So there's a lot of things to that. So that's very interesting. And I agree with what you said specifically.
Yeah.
Really.
I look at you and because I can remember times in my life where I what's the expression, burnt the candle at both ends, right? Mm-hmm. And thought I found the excuses for why I was doing those things. Like somebody needed this from me. Particularly when I was a young mom, oh my gosh, my business needed this from me, my kids needed this from me, my husband needed this, and everything was all the external of why I needed to accomplish everything. And you know who I forgot to think about who needed stuff from me? Was me.
Oh, I can't relate to that at all.
Right? and it's like the classic entrepreneur's dilemma.
Yeah.
Right? We never take care of ourselves. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, wow.
I was told, someone told me, they're like, you're the classic person that tries to take care of everyone, but you don't work on yourself. And that could hurt you in the very long run. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I've been trying to take time to do sports and things like that. Because like I said, I will get so worn out but when I play sports and I do things like that, after I'll be like, I'm refreshed. I can get some work done. I can talk to a client, things like that. But if I'm working 24 hours, I don't want to talk.
You do try to take on the world problem.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that,
I mean, with how many clients I have, it's hard,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take something that Nicole said and wrap it up in a nice little bow. Okay. You said something about things coming from the internal perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all about your work schedule and your nutrition and your exercise coming from an internal perspective. You're going to eat not because I told you to eat, not because Muscle and Fitness magazine told you to eat. You're going to eat because your body told you you're hungry. You see that you're getting stressed and that your timelines for your business are not where you want them to be. They're causing you stress. So you need to take that from an internal perspective and see that you need to work on your time management.
Oh, for sure. I 100% know that.
It's all about looking at the whole situation as a whole situation and trying to plan for it. If you know you're going to be up at midnight, let me ask you something. If you're up at midnight and you get hungry, are you reaching for a bag of chips or are you going into the kitchen and actually making a substantial meal?
So this is going to be funny because I know people that are going to listen and they know me. I'm someone that I'll make pasta I'll make pasta and put it in the fridge and bake a big bowl of pasta. I'm not someone during the day. I am never, and it's my dad too, so I can see it down the line. We're never someone that wants to sit there and eat a whole meal. I don't do that during the day at all. And so what I do is I eat little things. I'll go in the kitchen or I'll go in the office. I'll go and eat some and then I'll put it back. And so during the night, I'll just have a pre-made pasta, have some, put it back in the refrigerator, work, go back. And so even when I'm sleeping too, I'll wake up. And when I wake up, if I wake up, I'll be like, okay, I want a bite of a cookie or something like that. So definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try to look for balance in your meals.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, but it's great. I was going to advise you to think ahead. It sounds like you're already doing that. So kudos on that one.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to work on it. It's a lot easier said than done, but it's something that, that's my 2019 goal is to work on time management and those different types of things because it all correlates and all comes together.
Okay. Well, I'm going to invite you over for dinner. For
sure.
For salmon.
Yep. Oh, no. Definitely not going to happen. I would rather starve.
You haven't eaten my salmon before.
That's true.
Thanks. It sounds like you may need to bill him for all that.
I'll send you an invoice. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Both of you.
Nicole, if I understand correctly, you have not actually launched ProShot Doc, right? So what's that schedule look like to you?
Great. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So we are getting ready to do our beta. So right now people can go to our website, which is at, proshotdoc.com and drop in their email address, and we'll let them know as soon as we're ready to start sending out information. We will have demos and some sample videos coming out here, probably in the next 30 to 45 days. And then I'll have our video and our community available for sale and for membership.
Okay.
Hopefully by late spring. So getting really close. It's just right up there, which is super exciting. And yeah,
I can tell.
Lots of words. Lots of words come through my mind.
Looking at your face and let's just the enthusiasm in your voice. What are some of the things, if anything, that someone like I, Jacob, any of us could do prior to your launching to just get the awareness out there? Because obviously when you launch, you want to have a good base of people. So, I mean, I'd love to spread the word if there's an effective way to do that. Yeah.
So, we're going to do some, what I'll call community outreach to learn from potential parents and kids. What do they want to see? Right? What would make you really happy in the first couple of videos? What are the skills that matter most to you? So as those come out and we start collecting that data, anybody who can share links to those surveys would be great. As soon as we have our social media up, just sharing those links, sharing those pictures, and just helping us build awareness is going to be phenomenal. So that's really the biggest piece, is just as we can collect email addresses to just stay in touch and be part of our tribe early on. The more people who want to know about us so that we can help you get engaged and share the word, the better off we are. We want to make sure, make sure we know about it.
Are you on Facebook at this time or LinkedIn that we can connect as friends and connection?
So I'm absolutely on LinkedIn myself, and the company has a page on LinkedIn. Our Facebook page is not up, but will be up here shortly. Our website is very much up. Our Twitter account and our Instagram page are accessible at this time. There's just no content on them because there's nothing to share at this point.
If I were you, I would really utilize Nextdoor to reach parents, things like that. Nextdoor is a huge app. And I think for you to build communities for sports and things like that, Nextdoor to get polls or get anything out there would be better than Facebook or any platform. Nextdoor for you would be amazing.
Awesome.
Just to let you know that.
We'll definitely check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah. So one of our founders is in charge of all of our technology and marketing. So we're ready to go. We're just finishing up. We've been shooting videos on the weekends, and so we're just putting together all that content, and definitely excited to get this just together and start helping kids make a positive change.
Absolutely. I think what you're doing is incredible. I love that. Over to you, Yaffi. So I want to understand better how people not how they get to you, but I know you offer the test kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw something about a Facebook, maybe it's a group or whatever. Tell me the different ways. I'm sure you do one-on-one. So if you would just kind of walk through the different ways that people can utilize, your expertise and services, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, I do some one-on-one counseling, small group counseling as well. I really love the small group stuff. I give talks. So if anyone has any venue where they would like to hear some talk about childhood nutrition, any parent group, for example, I do that. I'm going to be at the Family Fit Fest at the Odyssey Complex this weekend, having a mini toddler test kitchen vendor booth, and I have all my dates there. I do toddler test kitchen in-home classes, so for birthday parties or just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I do nap time nutrition, which is my weekly live Facebook segment. And my segment yesterday was on why you should cook with your kids. So everyone should go check that out. But I cover some topic that is nutrition in the news, childhood nutrition, every week on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Arizona time on my live Facebook page. And I'm doing a lot of writing. And I'm focusing on my public speaking. So there are all the ways you can get me.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Do you also work with prenatal women and trying to kind of get to the nutrition from the very beginning?
I do. Yeah, I do work with some prenatal conditions. If you're concerned about your nutrition, just to touch base with a dietitian, or if you're experiencing a lot of morning sickness and you feel like you maybe not meeting your nutrition needs to have a healthy pregnancy, you just have questions, gestational diabetes, any of this stuff, I can help women through that. The whole point is anything that I can do to help families transitioning from being couples or singles into being parents. That's where my focus is, to help with that transition.
That's amazing. Last week we had a couple of guests with the Savvy Blondes, and I know you, Yaffi, know one of them, Ash. But the funny thing, it wasn't the funny thing, but the interesting thing about the conversation really relate still so much to what you're talking about, is that we have this whole wonderful generation of millennials, and I'm one of the few people out there that love millennials. And I think they're great. But the subject that they were bringing up were just these types of things that they're not taught. And, who's having babies? Millennials are having babies. Do they know how to feed them and care for themselves? Do they know how to, interact with their children to keep them from going on the electronics? Because, they're on electronics themselves. So it's kind of a hard role model, to say it's okay for me, but not, necessarily for you. And I think the thing is that it's part of our world now, the electronics. It's knowing when to put it down. Mm-hmm. And that's a conversation that Karen, our producer and studio president, we've had that conversation quite a bit, where we're on all the time. But then we go, but now's the time to put it down. And that's what I don't see with a lot of that age group. And
yeah, and Jacob. Like I said, I'm a millennial. I'm 24 years old. I tell everyone, I'm like, I don't want a child. I can't even take care of myself, yet take care of someone else. But it's funny because I go to dinner with my grandparents all the time. They'll say they're on their phone while they look at another table. Like, why are they always on their phone? And I'm like, you're on your phone too. And I think that's a lot of people. I never understood that. Like, if I'm going to tell my son, if I have a son, not to do something and I'm doing it, is that because I'm his father? Like, I just never got that. And I still don't to this day. I know there's some things, but that's just a thing where, you tell your child not to do something while you're doing it, and it just, it's
role modeling. We have to eat our broccoli and we have to put down our phone.
I mean, yeah.
But there are different instances where that comes up. If you're drinking your coffee in the morning, does that mean your child gets to drink coffee too? If you're having a glass of wine or a beer with dinner, does that mean your child also gets a glass of wine or a beer? So there are times when we establish those boundaries where we're doing something as adults that kids don't get to do. Of course, you're going to bed now. No, I'm going to stay up, because I'm the parent. I don't have a 7:00 bedtime.
Yep.
But I think it's very important to put down the phone and interact with the child. And interact with the child while maybe not taking pictures of everything. And I often talk about things that I need to hear myself, because if it comes out of my mouth, it's closer to my ears and maybe I can internalize it a little better. But it's very important, because the difference is that you can interact effectively with your child while having a cup of coffee.
Yeah. And I think, because I'm, like I said, I run a social media marketing agency, and I think it's funny because a lot of every one of my businesses that I've closed, I go to network meetings Wednesdays and Fridays. I went this morning, and the second youngest person is 40 years old and I'm 24. And I always thought, why? And it's because social media and the internet, they're thinking that they're still, they can close businesses and they don't need a network. And that's a huge problem right now, in my opinion, because 99.9% of the businesses that I've closed have never been online. It's all face to face. And so I think that's a huge, even though social media and the internet has been really good, I think that causes a problem with the phone and everything. And I see it myself. I'm literally 90% of the day on my phone posting and for clients and doing ads and things like that, when, I may have to look up and I may have a new client just looking up. So it's a problem. It definitely is a problem.
Well, I think that speaks very much to what Nicole and your organization are trying to do in terms of that whole building the relationships and really getting people to understand how to, break free of, the couch and the and their devices and whatnot. And on that note, I have to tell you that time goes very fast. It is warp speed in this studio. So we're about 8 minutes out. And I always like to give a few minutes for you guys to wrap up anything that maybe wasn't said. You've kind of given your contact information, which is kind of where I usually am putting that, but go ahead and feel free to give that again. But if there's anything you'd like to add that wasn't discussed, that's something important, any events, I know you have an event, you've each got about 3 to 4 minutes. So Nicole, can I start with you?
Sure. So yeah, I think that the things that I would love to share once again are if there's anybody listening who is a parent or happens to be a young person and knows that they really want to figure out how they can help get off the couch, get back excited about sports. Love to hear from them. They can drop their email onto our website at www.proshotdoc.com. And we'd love to connect and we'll get you on our newsletter list. I am super, super accessible. So I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on Instagram. I'm available on Facebook. I'm available on Twitter. It's pretty much, my handle almost everywhere is N Spracale. So you can find me. I love to talk to people. And even as this business is getting ready to launch, if there was something else that I shared that's just about how you grow your business or scale it, I am giddy to help share that. I have a personal mission, which really ties into this, which is to help 1 million people find their purpose and be able to then use that to execute on their business and leave a lasting legacy. So that's what ProShot Doc is for me. It's getting down to the kid level and doing that. Each of us in our business, each of our founders has another angle on that. At the end of the day, we believe it starts with kids and then grows to the next level. So I'm just really appreciative of the opportunity to be here, to reach more people and to help people make a difference.
I love that. I love that. No, we'll do everything we can to make sure that exposure is out there for you because you've got a great mission. Yaffi?
As I've said a few times, I'm Yaffi Lvova, registered dietitian nutritionist with Baby Bloom Nutrition. And you can find me on babybloomnutrition.com, on Facebook as Baby Bloom Nutrition, on Instagram as Baby Bloom NUTR. And I'm on LinkedIn as my name, Yaffi Lvova. I am not on Twitter. I just haven't gotten there yet. And find me come hang out with me virtually Tuesdays at 1 for Nap Time Nutrition on my Facebook page. Come hang out with me in person on Sunday at the Odyssey Complex for the Family Fit Fest. Come dance with some dinosaurs and make some zucchini noodles at my booth. And come to Toddler Test Kitchen. We have a lot of dates coming up. You can check out the dates with the registration links that are available at toddlertestkitchen.net. And I like to pause after that because it's not .com, it's .net. And I would love to hear any feedback, any recipe suggestions, any way that I can help ease that transition into parenthood. I'd love to hear from you.
Do you have an age maximum? Because I'm thinking of bringing Jacob with me this weekend. That maybe we can play with some fish or.
Well, Toddler Test Kitchen is ages 2 through 6, and I'm glad you asked that because most cooking classes start at age 5, and here I am giving 2-year-olds knives. So come, come see how I deal with that. Come find out a safe way to give your 2-year-old a knife. It's always fun. Yeah. Oh, at home we do ages 2 through 10. I'm a little more flexible with that when it's in someone's house because we can bend a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, I think we're just going to have some food fights and things.
I look young, so maybe.
Yeah, you're a little tall though.
Yeah. So. You can always come hang out at my class. I'll give you a toddler knife too.
Thank you.
That's great. I want to thank you both so much. You contributed to a great conversation, and again, that's kind of my passion is. It starts from so young, and if we're all doing the right jobs as they grow up, then they're going to end up being great business people, great leaders in our community. Maybe we'll even sometime get some really great government people up there for the next generation, right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that subject. But I'm really, really very excited about what you're doing. So I'll be looking forward to, Nicole, the launch of ProShot Doc, and definitely have some referrals that I can send your way, Yaffi. So
awesome, thank you.
Again, I want to thank you. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Contribution is always wonderful. And with that, word from our sponsor. online strategies and e-creativity, and will free up your precious and limited time as a business owner to do what you do best, which is running and growing your business. We help you grow your business by partnering with you to identify your content and marketing needs and provide you with fresh, innovative, dynamic copy that will effectively connect with your market. Our marketing strategies combine customized content with expertise in targeting and reach through social media channels by posting engaging content targeted to specific audiences to capture email addresses and build your email list along with analytics to optimize social ads and posts, all which lead to increased customer engagement and a higher conversion rate and increased sales. So we empower you to have control of your business and future by amplifying your message and delivering it to the right market. Thanks for listening. This is Michelle and Jacob wishing you continued prosperity in 2019 and beyond.